one of our guests at 9 o'clock today has into a tag for
Oh,
54. And a couple of weeks ago, he told me he was concerned he wasn't going to be able to get up there.
yeah.
And look, it's an act of nature, right? There's not a whole lot you can do other than try to find ways to, I don't know, shift a few things around.
Yeah, and I was just telling you before we went on air how busy the office has been this week, and it all hinges. Well, the majority of it hinges on the fire in Unit 54, the Badger Fire south of Twin there, and so because the Forest Service uh, instituted a closure pretty close after the fire started, and rightly so because that, as it turned out, that fire had some pretty severe conditions and fire behavior. So, but what that closure did is it closed a significant portion of what we call Game Management Unit 54 off from hunters. And it just happens that we have close to 20 hunts going on in the South Hills over the next several weeks. So we wanted to make sure that we provided opportunity, um, either this year or next year, for people who had drawn tags down there. And it's the one thing, the South Hills or Unit 54, it's a highly prized tag, especially for elk and for deer as well. And then there's a growing population of moose and so we these people, the hunters that drew those tags, are very interested in that hunt, obviously. So we have um, provided hunters about four options that they have if they have a Unit 54 tag for whatever hunt it is. They can come in and get a refund. So far, nobody's taken us up on that option. They can exchange their tag for another one this year, or and this is the most popular one, is people are taking what we call a rain check. So what they do, they have to physically come into the office with their tag in hand, surrender their 2020 tag. They then have the option of purchasing an over-the-counter deer or elk tag, and then what we'll do is we will honor that tag in 2021. So, like I said, we want to be fair to the hunters out there to make sure that they have opportunities to get out into the field.
It is a mess up there though because I was talking to a law enforcer who was up in the air in a chopper the other day and actually looked down and saw an elk that had an arrow in it and but it had been charred, and so
Hmm.
probably someone was tracking it, and then because of the fire they had to turn back, and then the elk ended up either dying or getting consumed by the fire.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that report, but we know that, especially on the one Friday when the fire blew up, there was that fire moved fast. I in my in one of the many jobs I've held in my career, I fought fire for 10 years with the Forest Service, and it was always interesting how few wildlife animals you saw that would die in a fire. But when you have extreme fire conditions like they had up there then a couple weeks ago, even if even a fast-moving animal would have a hard time getting out of the way of that one. So we're actually going to have some biologists out in the field today for the first time assessing kind of the conditions. We know that up high, well, we know from a standpoint of reports we've been getting from the Forest Service is up high, the fire was a mosaic. It wasn't a clean burn. And so from a wildlife standpoint, in future years, this was a beneficial fire. Down in the lower country, it burned complete. It was a very hot fire, so we know we lost some winter range and things like that. So it's going to be an interesting winter if we get, a severe winter on top of a fire like that. It will definitely impact deer herds, especially. So we'll stand by and kind of monitor how things are going. And hopefully, when I come back on the next show, we can talk a little bit more about habitat conditions, what we found from the fire.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I have a question about what happens. All of those animals who left, because I was told you could see, people said you could see them, fleeing. And where do they go in those situations? I mean, do they just come downhill and end up in some valley and increase depredation?
That's a great question. In fact, we have had several people ask that same question to the office. Um, it's really hard to sense again where those animals went because we much of that area is still it's well the closure's still in effect. We honor that closure the same as
Hmm.
the public does. So we have not had staff up there. So I can't really answer that question yet. The the west side over in the Shoshone Basin, basically Deadline Ridge west, that is unburned, and so many maybe animals went more west.
And again, this is closed until October 30th.
Yes.